Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get cut. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. Hey, I'm a little bit behind because I had to switch my contacts out this morning. They were like stinging me. So let's just go through this really quick because we got like big releases here in 5 minutes. And a lot happened yesterday too in the treasury space. So coming over here to our volume profile in the E-mini, Tesla sold off yesterday. I don't know if Elon started the dump or what, but they were down and they dragged the whole market with them. Meanwhile, in the treasuries, the PPI came in line. There was some Fed speakers. And then there was the auction. The interesting thing yesterday, I thought, was we had the auction and it was all expected to be bullish, but it was actually a very poor auction. But prices remained elevated anyways. And then since then, we've been down. Now, there was also the CPI data for China overnight, which was pretty bad. The producers in China are getting squeezed like hardcore, and China is in between a rock and a hard place. And I think that is part of why we kind of were pressured down to the downside here a little bit. There we also, I think there's some people betting on CPI being high for us. So we got that. Oil did pretty good yesterday. It coming back a little bit. Natural gas continues to sink and appears to be under control. Gold and silver holding their gains. So this is like 3 days now above 1800. We haven't had this much positive action in gold and silver in a long time. Copper remains in the range. Bitcoin, a little bit of a sell-off yesterday, but I mean, come on, it was like new highs, so whatever. And the dollar once again on the rise above 94. And we're going to have to watch the currency flows, right? Because they're going to be important. So for our news here, we got to remember that tomorrow is a holiday, is a federal holiday or a bank holiday or whatever. So all of the news, the initial jobless claims has been moved up. We're expecting 260K new jobless claims. And the CPI month over month, we're expecting to be core CPI spot 4 with the regular CPI spot 6. And I would anticipate that we should be right on with those numbers. But we'll see what they do. This is likely to be a hyper volatility event is what I think we should call them now. And so I am not going to be trying to mess with it immediately afterwards. Unless they do like they did yesterday, where there's like a very clear direction that we should be going, and they don't move. They've got spot 6 and spot 3 for the core. So spot 3 for the core inflation rate ain't so bad, really. Yeah, RDH on ZB is 8 ticks, so prepare the booty for swings. Yeah, I think so. You're still waking up. I'm awake. I'm not sure if I'm dialed in yet. Look at them pull. This is going to be a monster. We're all like gearing up. Watch is going to be like nothing. Must have been high. Oh, Nikes. I gotta wait until it's on Twitter. Oh. Spot 9. Spot 9. Spot 9. Jeez. They're not going to fill that. Watch. There's no way they fill that. They're like, fine, we'll go higher. Lucas says, talk about policy mistake. Well, so we got to dig into this report, huh? Let's dig into the report and see where it's coming from first before we make too many conclusions. Also, remember, it's the spot that I really care more about the core. What was the core CPI here? Spot 6. Okay. So let's go into the latest release. I can't believe that that's still sitting there. Like, if you feel me, okay. Consumer price index for all urban consumers increased spot 9% in October on a seasonally adjusted basis after rising spot 4% in September. The monthly all items seasonally adjusted increase was broad-based, with increases in the indexes for energy, shelter, food, used cars and trucks, and new vehicles among the larger contributors. The energy index, okay, so that right there is already like, hold the boat, because if it's trucks, I don't particularly care, right? So shelter was up spot 5 versus spot 4. Apparel was down. Okay, used cars and trucks was 2 spot 5. New vehicles, commodities, less food and energy commodities was 1, and energy was pretty high. So this may not do exactly what we think. We're just gonna have to see what they do here. Because the curve flattened. Oh, it flattened. So there's a definite hole where I decided to get in at 13. $30-year seemed to be leading those last few ticks down there. The curve flattened and Seth's smile did too. Well, this, I don't know, man. Here's the thing: we've had in the recent past CPI numbers that outperformed significantly, right? And of course, we did get the expected move initially, but then it fizzled out quickly, right? Like the market came back and was like, nah, it's not a big deal. The never-ending Fed will take action explaining why they sat tight hoping for the best. Well, I don't know. Like, the thing is, what do you do? Yeah, I at this point, I don't think, though, that the Fed is the biggest problem right now, or the biggest worry, right? I'm concerned about China. The CPI data and everything for China was pretty hot, right? And they're in a real bind, because if they don't raise rates, then they're really likely to start getting some real inflation. But if they do raise rates, then they're going to crash their housing market. So what do? What do you do? Now, on this move, gold got bought up hard. I would expect Bitcoin to be going to, yes, it is. Bitcoin is going to. S&P 500 looks unhappy. Now, here's a thought. Here's another thought. Here's an argument that I think is, I'm not saying I agree with this argument. I'm not sure. But I think it's an argument that we're going to start seeing. Even if the inflation is transitory, the Federal Reserve should fight it. Like, if it's transitory, it's because of, supply chain constraints, and the Federal Reserve should raise rates and slow down the economy to allow those bottlenecks to ease. A theory. I think that we might start hearing that. Yeah, have you taken one, Uzi? Let's see here. If we were to continue down, what do you think we would be looking at? Probably at the very least the lows of the day in CB. If not 162.16. Yeah, he's probably doing the smart thing. I obviously I put a limit order out there, but I clearly didn't end up getting a good price. But look, not very many people have even tried trading it. Couple of broadsides going back and forth there in the 10-year, it looks like. Yep. There's a lot more two-way action in this on the Treasury than you would think, but I think that we're looking at a very complicated economic situation to analyze, and there's probably going to be people taking it both ways. I think that there's still going to be people in there saying that, like, yields are going to remain low because yeah, I think if you go for market orders right now, you probably would get burned a little bit. But at the same time, it kind of depends on how patient you can be, right? Because if we do continue to move down in the Treasury, I think that they're going to get much higher than 1.5 today. Feels like the bond markets are not quite sure what to make of it. Yeah. I mean, it might. Here's the thing: is if we go back to like that last employment report where the yields like really, really declined and everything, and now you look at this CPI and you say, well, was that move really justified? Why shouldn't we be back at last Friday's prices? You know? Could you give a short brief on what this could lead Bitcoin to? Well, in the short term, I mean, on today, the traders are gonna raise prices because of it for sure. I think that it's too far out. The problem with Bitcoin is, again, people don't use it. People don't use it for anything. So in the treasuries, I can kind of guesstimate how long a trend is going to go and where it might go to based on people having to use it, right? And so I can come in and price out when the next Federal Reserve interest rate increase is going to be to next year, I think, and that would set a price. I can't do that in Bitcoin because people don't really use it, right? So I can only say that here off of this news, it has moved higher. Could it move even higher than it is right now? I don't know. In the midterm, I'm still looking at a big risk towards the end of the month with the Mt. Gox restitution program. At some point, we will find out how many Bitcoins they're going to sell. And, depending on how much that is, it could be really bad or it could be no big deal. But it's a risk, and there's the regulatory risk for Bitcoin still, I think, because the regulatory agencies are definitely circling in on Tether. But yeah, I'm much more interested in what the Treasury does if they try and if yields try and rise back to 1.6 again. Oh, did I go mute? That's weird. Am I okay now? Oh, never mind. It was me. I say, is it okay now? And I didn't get a response. And I'm like, wait, what? Okay. The percent of all CPI subcomponents, 250 CPI subcomponents are up 2%, now at 8%. Highest since. Yeah, nothing like the smell of widespread inflation in the morning, says Patrick Rooney. Oh, man. That is a hot CPI. Like, this is going to... So another thing. How do consumer expectations not become unanchored now? Remember, they're all this whole thing about, well, we're a little bit concerned about that, and it's happening a little bit, but we think that in the long run, it's going to be like no big deal. And now that you get that CPI print, and it's going to be the news today, man. It's going to be at the top of the news today. Everybody on TikTok is going to be talking about it. How does that not, change consumer expectations now? Lucas says it was unanchored since a long time ago. Yeah. But here's the thing is that that I think is kind of funny is the whole policy mistake thing. Weren't they kind of saying it was a policy mistake in the other direction? You know what I mean? They were saying that the Federal Reserve is making a policy mistake. It's going to hamper the economy, and so yields are going to stay low. But now we're sitting down and we're saying, no, things were fine. They should have stopped the purchases and raised rates sooner to control inflation. And now they're going to be behind and they're going to have to catch up and rates are going to have to rise. That's kind of the scenario we're looking at now. That does not suggest lower rates for longer. There very much it's going to be higher. But that's why it's interesting to me that off of this news, we saw flattening still. The 30-year did not move very much off of that news. if they don't act on this, then would we say they were bluffing all this time? No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, what would be the evidence that would prove that they were bluffing? You know, I would have to see something that would prove what their state of mind was at the time, which is probably not something that we're going to get, right? I really think that they are acting appropriately within the confines of their framework. And we're in a really unique economic time, and it looks like maybe they just got it wrong, you know? On the other hand, maybe they come back out and they say, well, we still think it's transitory. I don't know. I don't think that I don't think that Powell is going to come out and be like, well, that one CPI inflation for October was so high that we're just completely reversing course now, right? He's not. That's not the Powell I know, you know? You know what I'm saying? But I think what you're getting at is, or you know, there's this whole jumble, right? There's one of the things that you keep in mind is that there's lots of different reasons that people don't like the Federal Reserve, and they kind of all just latch onto like whatever is being said at the moment, and some of those things are kind of contradictory, right? So one of the things that is floating around is that they really should be raising rates based on the economic numbers, but they're not, to keep rates low for the government so that they can do government spending. Well, I don't buy that one at all. The rate is so low, even if rates raise to like 2% on the 10-year, it's like, I think it's only at 2% where it becomes a big deal. I can't recall the exact number, but some people have calculated the exact number at which it becomes like a problem. Well, we're like nowhere close to that. Oh, it's the wrong date. It's the 10th. When is the open? The same time it is every day. In 45 minutes or so. Oh, I guess he probably has to adjust for daylight savings time, and he's thinking, shouldn't we be open now? I gotcha. Thanks, NASDAQ. I feel better today. Well, they made a look for lower, and they did make it a little bit lower, but then they just got pulled right back into the hole. No, you changed. Yeah, we changed times. Daylight savings time sucks, right? Of course, they're going to move it on me now because I showed my order. Fuck. I meant to hit there and it didn't fill. Can you believe it? Can software know what another software is thinking and adjust to that? Well, you could try making an algorithm based on metagame. I'm really mad. I mean, it's not the end of the world and everything, but I was doing the right thing, and it just didn't work out. I was doing the right thing, and my click just didn't work out, and maybe the market was reacting to me. I don't know. I feel like I got caught with my pants down there, man. But see, I think that there's going to be somebody out there saying, okay, this is bad because the Federal Reserve won't necessarily be able to raise rates, but what it will do is it will create a recession, right? That's kind of the play that I think I've been seeing, is that they don't think the yields are going to rise because they think that we're creating a recession. Is the AI overrated? Well, I mean, in terms of trading, I wouldn't say that it's overrated. It's harder to do than people think. I tell you that much. Well, so when the market opens, just note that we get New York Fed Treasury purchases, and then we do have a auction today, don't we? We got some bill auctions today, and a 30-year. We do have a 30-year. Okay. Yes, I did answer the question about Bitcoin. So I'm noticing that they went right back to the seller cost basis at 50.5 and bounced back down. The issue, I think so let's reset things right there. But I think the issue is still, in order for us to get significant downside, somebody's going to have to start hammering the 30-year. I feel like that, well, I don't know if I'm qualified enough to make that kind of a determination. I think sometimes moves and spreads confuse me a little bit, but I kind of feel like that this should justify the curve steepening, but certainly not as much flattening as it's been, but who knows? liquidity in the 5 years looks a little awful. I guess it's still relatively light in the 10-year with them only putting 2Ks on there, but moves and spreads confuse you. Simple enough. If one does not move, the one spreads. Sometimes it makes perfect sense, but sometimes what they decide to do is like, what? Yeah, look at gold. You're right. This is a really good. Well, I mean, we mentioned it earlier, but we really should be highlighting it, right? There have been so many times here where when we would have higher inflation numbers, the yields would increase and that would hurt gold. And this is the first time now that gold is doing what it's supposed to do. Short ZF, short ZN, long ZB. Yeah. Good, Gus. I'm glad that it's helping. And I've spoken with Gus. By the way, for those of you guys, if you're on the if you're a channel member, you click the join and you join for $1 to $10 a month. There's a Discord channel, and Gus has been messaging me on Discord too, and not enough people take advantage of that, so please do. My thoughts of what hurt gold was the belief that of investor trading it that the Fed could potentially act on bad inflation numbers, so maybe they don't believe the Fed either can or will. Gold always goes up after other real assets and not before. And that's an interesting comment. Well, I always just took it at face value, right? There is a really strong correlation between gold and yields. And when yields increase, it tends to hurt gold. But I think that what's happened, I've noticed over the past week that the action in gold has kind of changed. Like it used to be like anytime that something happened that should help gold, maybe it helped it for a little bit and then the sellers came in and just destroyed it. And any time that the yields increased, they would just come and destroy gold. And over the past week, it was kind of like whoever it was that had that trade on and was hampering price, it like gave up on it or something. I think that when we go and we look at the COT numbers this Friday, that you're going to see a pretty big shift in positions in gold futures. What I don't get, though, is the strength of the dollar index on these numbers. Oh, this is a good point, too, right? Oh, I don't have it up here. That's why I am. Well, these on these numbers, they came back, right? And maybe some of the movement that we've been having, this oscillation back and forth, is based largely on the currency numbers. But they did jump all the way up to 94, almost spot 4. On that news. More than I like printed paper. And that is kind of a little inexplicable, right? That it's like inflation is getting out of control. By the dollar? Okay. Well, it does feel so. We're still seeing flattening in the 5 year from the 5 year, but the action is definitely calmed down in the Treasury. But the question remains, will they convince the 30-year rates to rise? Exciting times for sure. I don't know. I always get a little disappointed though, because there was some really strong economic questions that, like before the pandemic, there were some really interesting questions that I thought we were just about to get answered, and they didn't get answered. Basically, the pandemic came in and just, overwhelmed all of that. And then, I think we were starting to get some interesting questions about the recovery and everything. And maybe we still get those. But if the inflation narrative takes over, then we won't get answers to those other questions either, will we? But perhaps this means that those questions never really mattered. Perhaps those questions never mattered. I'm going to change the title of the video to CPI inflation hot. You can see here, like, there was the initial move, and then ever since then, it's just kind of been clawing its way back. Yeah. What? A piece of gold the size of chewing gum could be pounded flat enough to cover a football field? Is that like how thin gold leaf is? Well, I must say, for a long time in my regular portfolio, because my regular portfolio is very much tied to rising rates. I got the bank stock in particular, rising rates, good for banks, okay? But I tried to design it with a lot of materials in there as well, so that if the inflation became a problem, that I kind of had a hedge. And for the last 6 months or so, I've regretted that. I look at it every day and I'm like, maybe I should just get rid of the silver position. Right? But today at the very least, I think it's going to hedge the pain quite well. There was a couple of bad, the bad call. The bad call was Zillow. Zillow. Don't remind me about Zillow. Like, it's funny that the ZB was pushing its highs there. So at the moment when we're looking at the treasuries, does it really come down to the treasuries aren't really raising rates very quickly? Is it because they think that the inflation is transitory, or is it because they think that we're going to have a recession? You know what I mean? Banks do not make money. The bank that I'm invested in makes money on interest rates, my friend. It's not a consumer bank. They'll still do okay. They will, of course, still do okay here if well, I don't know. I mean, if the economy goes into a recession, then it's going to be But in this current environment, they get in plenty of business, right? But they make so much more if the rates are high. Like honestly, like these bank stocks like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, if interest rates were as high as they were in the 80s, they would be like 2, 3, 4 times higher than they are now. U.S. inflation was up 2% in October over a year ago. That's the highest inflation in 31 years. Yeah. So for us, from an order flow perspective, over the short to midterm, I think that the biggest thing that we get off of this report is that there is going to be a lot more public interest in inflation, right? Probably in my mind, the best call is silver and gold. Like that's going to be where people reflexively go, right? Everybody's going to wake up. So most people in my time zone, they're still waking up. They're going to get to work and they're going to read inflation, all of the big scary headlines. And they're going to go, oh, I need to buy silver. That's what I think is going to happen. Well, I think that it is time for me. Lucas says, I'd say gold, but if account size is big enough, silver is another good option. More volatile and with policy shifts might get whipsawed before it moves higher. Yeah. Well, I've been noticing, though, that lately silver has still kind of been dragging on gold. Then there will be another silver shortage. Oh, well, it could be now. The silver bug subreddit has got to be going nuts right now, huh? I tell you what, it's the right call right now, but they've developed a real cult over there in silver. If the dollar rises, then gold will not rise. Well, it kind of rises at first, but now the dollar is getting weaker. So let's see. I think that there's plenty more twists and turns to today's order flow, right? So here's the treasuries shooting for another, the 30-year is shooting for that 28 3/4. Almost certainly. I mean, that's a pretty big order, 3,600. And the 30-year is still dragging its feet, but they did get it to come along. Basically, it just kept flattening. What are you two talking about? I do. I do kind of. Well, look. If you watch Rachel Maddow and you also go and watch Sean Hannity, then that's one thing. But like, if your favorite show was Rachel Maddow, like, ooh, I would rethink your news sources. Rachel Matt. It's just like Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity is entertainment. It's not news. You know what I mean? Oh, when I was a kid, I loved listening to him, but now it just grates on me. How do these people learn? I mean, look here. I'm on YouTube. Like, I have to fill time. I have to fill time. I mean, I just that's my thing, right? I find things to talk about. Okay, but Sean, he has just like mastered the art of how can I drag this out as long as I can to fill out airtime and like keep you listening and promote myself. And so like the whole thing is just yapping about I'm going to tell you something and how big it's going to be. And then he tells you the thing and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. I can't stand it anymore. When I was a kid, I was gripped. But now it just grates on me. Get to the point. You know what I mean? You don't watch either? I don't watch cable television anymore. I don't even have a cable subscription now. There was a time in my first marriage where we had the TV thing figured out, man. Like, we had the DVR, paid for the DVR, had all of our favorite stuff on. It would record Mad Money and Fast Money for me every day so I could watch those. And then the new episodes of everything, The Walking Dead, whatever it was, right? And then Comcast like tried raising the rate on me to like something ridiculous. You know, it was like the introductory rate was $60 and they wanted me to spend $250 or something. And I'm like, I'm going to leave. Why don't you send me to the customer retention department or whatever? And they didn't want to do that. And I was like, you know what? I'm fed up with this. We shouldn't be supporting this company anyways. And that was when I gave up cable. And you know what? There hasn't been anything good on television since then anyways. So I am very, very happy with my decision. But because of that, I don't watch cable news anymore. I read plenty of stuff, though. And I get all of my liberal stuff from Reddit. And yeah, they'll link me to MSNBC. It's the Washington Post. The Washington Post is the lefty outlet these days. Which is kind of funny because the Washington Post was really like if you're at West Point, it used to be that you had to read the Washington Post every day, you know? But then they got bought out and they kind of became a lefty outlet. And then I got a couple of websites that I read for the right-leaning take on it. Selling books, that's been the core of the Apple. Oh, you know, it's a good point. Oh, we don't pay a special tax for TV. No. I mean, it's included in our tax. It's covered in our taxes, I suppose. Wonder how many people actually turn on a TV show. I think that a lot of people in the last 10 years have done what I did and cut off their cable. But I don't know. It's kind of feels worse because you got rid of cable, but then you're paying for your Netflix subscription, your HBO Max subscription, and your Disney Plus subscription. Although I have to say, Disney, I really don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth now that The Mandalorian is not on television anymore. Okay, like when Book of Boba Fett comes out around Christmas, then it's going to be a different thing. But you're going to have something other than the Star Wars, because the other stuff that I've been getting on there is just like meh. And the National Geographic stuff, it's okay, but you need more stuff. You need more stuff, and I want the educational material. Yeah, release the rage. I'm telling you. But it's not about the Star... I'm getting the Star Wars, right? But it's like, if I go on Netflix, I can watch Burns' documentary on the Civil War or on the Vietnam War. Oh, man. Let me tell you what. If you have not... What is his first name? Ken Burns? Yes, Ken Burns. If you have not seen Ken Burns' documentary on the Vietnam War, you have got to watch that. It is so good, especially those first 4 episodes. I resubscribed Disney after a few months and drop after I watch news. There you go. Isn't it kind of funny though? It's really the opposite of what people thought. Netflix is the one that's creating all of the good content right now, and all of the other guys are languishing. It's pretty funny. Of course, then there's Paramount. Ain't nobody spent for that one because the Star Trek thing sucked. So I heard. At least I didn't watch it. Like, I don't understand how you put Patrick Stewart in a series and it gets that bad of reviews, but really for me, I like to have a certain amount of education content, nature documentaries and stuff for the kid. Well, they made a pretty good push lower there in the 10-year. They still haven't been able to push the 30-year to its lows. There's still a lot of flattening going on here. And things just kind of came right back to where they were. Kind of looks like we could just slosh around here, though, a bit. I am a little disappointed. I should have been able to get, 1.5 there. Alligator thinks the next step will be re-steepening a massive opportunity short end seems exhausted. That's kind of what I'm thinking, too. I think that the 30-year end will have to give. Have you ever thought about getting the BrokerTech feed to see the yields live? Yeah, I think we looked at that the other day, didn't we? I don't remember what I had decided. Here's the thing: seeing the yields live is, I think, would for sure be helpful, but I think that you really see what you need to be able to see with the stuff you get from the CME. I'm not convinced that you would get so much from those other data feeds that it would be worth spending money on, you know what I mean? It's certainly not a monthly fee. Now, I don't think that you had to pay a monthly fee for BrokerTech, but Yeah. 10-year is retracing that whole. You got sucked all the way back up. The cumulative delta here today has been all over the place. I mean, like, it's been varying by 5K, but ultimately we're not too much higher than we were before. Yeah, Quasars, I didn't try it. And I think that was kind of why I didn't pay too much attention to it either, was because I was like, I bet you that it's just going to give you quotes. It's not going to give us like the kind of data that we get in futures, right? I'm keep looking over here for some kind of sign about what's going on. The one thing that is clear is that they've been selling the 5-year. That seems to be pretty clear to me. It's just that 30 doesn't want to go. But when I look at the volume in the 30-year, it's doing the same thing the other ones are. It's just not moving. Like, look at that. They're at their highs again. Pay attention, says speculators that day trading. Good point, but will you all quickly pay attention to the like button, thumbs up to help the channel numbers? Thank you very much. But I should thank you guys for all the interest in the order flow video that we did. Next video should be on order flow conditions, which will kind of be like setups, but they're not setups because they're not intended to be like, this is a trade that you take here, but certain conditions that you're going to want to look for that should be good. And then we get to the one that it's going to be hard for me to teach, but I really want to get into some of these order flow tendencies. So something that's happening to me here, I should just have it in the 5-year, huh? Because the 10 is not really following the 10 and this, they don't really follow each other very well. Uzi says, hey, we're out of the range finally. Yeah, the 30-year 2 ticks up. You go long here. I don't know. This price right here at 23 was yesterday's point of control for ZB, so that's interesting. You know, another thing that we should note, there's always so many things, but something that we should note is that the ES took this fairly well, wouldn't you say? The Ultra is strong. You saying the Ultra 10 is strong compared to the regular 10? Really, if we wanted to watch these tick for tick, we should be watching the Ultra 10 because this is a 7-year and this is a 10-year, right? It seems like that 7 is kind of like the inflection point, you know? And when you get to actual real tens, then it's more. Yeah, UB is strong for sure, but you meant the 10-year. Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. There's a good amount of volume trading both sides there in the 30-year. They were trading, what, 600 both sides there? Somebody was saying inflation is running at 30-year highs, and News Squawk tweeted, more stimulus. Government is not the answer to our woes. Well, kind of the problem is that when government is the thing that's causing the problems, then it kind of ends up being government's the only one that can fix it, right? Can you help me figure out what's going on with the inflation news? Nobody has covered it. Well, inflation is really high. That's the gist of it. But the market's still trying to sort out what that means. But inflation is really high right now. You know, things kind of chilled off for a little bit, but this report was way hotter than they thought. Kind of alarming levels, I think. The government could just stop causing problems. Yes, but you would have to convince the government to stop causing those problems, which means that you have to elect certain politicians in there to do that. Yeah. Saha family says buy bank stocks? Not necessarily. Depends. So if we thought that rates were going to rise a lot, then yeah, you want those bank stocks because those higher yields, they make more money off of that. But something that matters just as much, if not more, is the spread, right? What they are getting for, you know, a 5-year versus a 30-year, because what they do is they play the long game and they spread and they make money that way, right? And right now we are flattening, which is bad for the bank stocks. So, you know, I haven't looked yet, but I would bet that Goldman Sachs probably not doing so hot today. Regarding your concerns about consumer expectations, the most part of that inflation, 5.2%, if I am not mistaken, are on constraint demands. Could lower the extra spending, but not that much. Yeah. So remember when we were looking into it, all of the numbers were hot. So it is a concern across the board. But why was it like such an insane number? Because of cars and energy and those sorts of things. So, you know, I think that the people that are in the transitory camp have a little bit of egg on their face, but they still have room to sit here and argue that, yeah, this is transitory. It's not a big deal. Doesn't mean that we need to emergency raise interest rates right now, you know? Here's the E-mini opening. It's actually pretty even. Oh, you know what we didn't look at? What was the something that I missed? Oh, it's already off of my board. What was the unemployment claims? Oh, 267 versus 257, so slightly above forecast. Okay, well, there was a little bit of up action there in the S&P 500, but the volume is not really showing me a huge swing either way yet. Man, you're going at it there, Uzi. I'm a little concerned what this administration has been doing in regards to China. They talk tough, but I don't see how they've done anything but help China right now. Well, I say going at it because you guys are still talking back and forth. That's all I meant. I didn't mean to put it like, oh, you need to be nicer to each other. Be kind. Let's not fight. You ever one of the shows that I force my kid to watch is a word party, because he doesn't speak and I want him to speak. He can speak. I mean, he understands everything I'm saying. He just doesn't want to talk. But in word party, every episode there has to be a conflict between the kids, and then they have to say, no, let's not fight. Yeah. Okay, so there, the E-mini making a pretty good initial move up. The volume was pretty even between both of them, both ways. Now they're testing the downside. I'm wondering if you're going to get more cumulative delta on the downside now. Yeah. So the A's just went short. I think, well, why not? Hold on, am I going to be fast enough here? Because I want threes. I want threes. Okay. Oh, you know what? Gosh dang it. I'm going to flatten that, and I'm going to put the scale out on it. Okay. Do your thing, ES. Defy me again. You've been doing it all week. You might as well just go and tag me at 61 for the hell of it. You've been learning how to use a power drill and hang pictures? I should hang some pictures. That's what I should have done last night. Gosh dang it. You know what though? My wife had this thing. I didn't know it was a thing. It's an impact drill. Oh my gosh, that thing is so cool. It's so much easier to use the impact drill. Okay, well, both the treasuries and the E-mini kind of dropped a little bit there. Yes, impact drills are this shit, right? like when I first used the impact drill, I'm like, why would anybody ever use anything else? Sure enough, right to the stop. I've just been making really bad calls in the E-mini these days. Sometimes I will just, I'll get out of one and I'll click it in again. The other way, maybe flip it. Just because I'm like, How can it be so off, you know? No, there we go. They're like, nope, we can't give Seth a fill there. No, no, no. Oops, that is not what I wanted. I read yesterday that the new thing for optimum sleep is to incline your bed, add bed risers to the front feet of your bed and your body net out. Okay. Wait, to the front feet. Does that mean you want your feet higher than your head? Or does the front mean by your head? Okay, so the downside looked ugly, but it turned around very quickly, didn't it? But the deltas are kind of even on both ways on those, so I can't read either of those moves as particularly indicative of what the day will hold. But the kind of which one it did first and everything, I kind of have to favor the long side right now. I'm glad Ace got his 2 points, because that one was a little close. And by the way, our call, man, Alligator, I mean, I was thinking it too, but I really think Alligator gets the credit for that one. When he said, you know, like, we're kind of at an inflection point here, and I think what's going to happen is it's going to steepen back up, and sure enough, like, look, the 30-year is dragging them lower, and the 10 is going along with it. Oh, how did I get... Okay, I screwed up. Flat. Was that 3? Yes. More than 3, technically, because some of them were screwed up. Okay. Let's let them sort it out, and I'll try another one here in a bit. Oh, did I get a fill? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And then they immediately pivoted back down. Thought the same thing. I realized I am more comfortable with my head higher and the pillow slipped so my head doesn't stay high all the time. So I don't know what the deal is with me, but for some reason I feel more comfortable with my fist underneath of the pillow. But then your hand falls asleep, so that's no good. I'm kind of tempted to add back in again there, but Biden is speaking, apparently. Reversing the increase in inflation is a top priority for me. Cool. There we go. They've asked the White House National Economic Council to pursue the means to reduce energy costs. That's going to get, gold is going. Oh, gold. Okay, now I have to pull the account up because I got to see what silver's doing here, man. This is the day. You know, we were talking about it yesterday with Brannigan on Twitter. He was really bullish gold and silver, and I thought that too. Again, because of what I was saying earlier, it seems like there's been a shift that the action is not the same in gold and silver, and that the people that were depressing price seem to be gone there. And it was a great call. Whoops. Not that you guys could see anything there, but I just want to be extra sure. When this loads up, that I don't have something on there that... Okay, I think we're fine. Duac a little lower today. Zillow a little lower today. Tesla recovering. Yep, sure enough, there you go. Goldman Sachs down a whole percent because of the flattening. But we're steepening back up. It may recover. They may recover in Goldman now. But here you can see, yes, the silver, I recovered a good 10% there. In fact, I could even add here, I think I will reframe though, because if silver goes the way that we want it to, that's going to be double anyways, and I don't want those to be too big. That's Musk buying back the Twitter share cells? No, I don't know. I really wonder there with the move that Tesla did yesterday. I mean, man, that was a move, by the way. That was a move. Here, let's come out to 5 days. Can I do 5 days, 10 days? Okay, 5 days. Yeah, okay, this right here, that very well could have been him selling. I went and I did the math yesterday, and my conclusion was that if he tried to sell all of the shares in a day, that his impact would be like $50 to $100. And they moved a good $100, $200. So that really could have he really could have just sold it all yesterday. And I think that there was enough volume to do it. He has like 17 million shares to sell. When would it get? I don't know. When does it get reported that he sold? When would you see it in the reports? So now that we got the 10 and we got the 30 going along, the 10 is right at the basically at Monday's lows. So if they push much further, then we start repricing the whole move that we had on Friday. So there could be some real potential here. Da, da, da. Maybe I shouldn't have taken my other contract off, huh? You got chopped up in the oven? Well, so did I, man. The E-mini is a little dicey there, huh? It's frankly, it's still being dicey. I mean, I think maybe they eventually move up, but they might be hard here with the yields increasing on them a bit. I hate Tesla 1047. Are you still short that? Yeah, well, those were all sim trades, and was holding a hard stop, so. No, I just hate the manipulations. I think that Tesla, though, is like a really good example of one of the things that we talk about a lot here, that, you know, price impact can be more extreme than people think. And you don't, just because it's a large company or a large stock doesn't mean that you can't have a large price impact on it, right? Elon Musk selling 10% of his shares, according to my math, causes Tesla to move about 10%. It's not that liquid of an instrument, relatively speaking. They don't want to be. That's the funny thing, is these big tech companies, they don't want to be large tick instruments. They want to be able to move it around as from what I can tell. I think my 5-point loss is too small. Well, for in this environment right now, maybe, but in general, that's 5 points is a pretty big stop, you know? So I don't know. Let's see here. U.S. Senator Joe Manchin comments on latest U.S. inflation data. By all accounts, the threat posed by record inflation to the American people is not quote-unquote transitory and is instead getting worse. From the grocery store to the gas pump, Americans know the inflation tax is real, and D.C. can no longer ignore the economic pain Americans feel every day. Which translated means there's no way in hell that I'm going to pass your crazy, ridiculous spending plan, Democrats. Did I do a good translation? Did you guys understand that one? You know, it's kind of hard to go between two languages like that, but I think you guys should have gotten the gist of it. Do I not follow him? Wait, is he? Okay. Hold on a second. I did not see him come up on my Twitter feed. No, I am following him. It just, I guess it just went through faster and I didn't, how come I didn't see it? It didn't show up in my feed. Well, it was 10 minutes ago. That's why. 10 minutes ago. Let's go back. Now I can see it. Yes, that was 10 minutes ago. Okay. And only now Bloomberg and all of them are picking up on it. Is what's going on there. Now, my original trade was at 495. I averaged in a position a little bit below that. Oh, wait. Yeah, I think that's good for a one contract trade. I really feel like I should be sizing up here, but that was kind of the mistake that I made on the last one was, I don't know. I wasn't so sure that they were going to push through here. Now that they are, I feel like sky's the limit. And it doesn't mean that they ain't going to stop here. Like if they come back and they settle back at 10 for all I know, it won't surprise me, but I think it's worth it for me to try and hold it and let it run. Okay. But the thing that we should be picking up from this, again, remember, I think that the biggest change that we get today is that everybody's going to be talking about this now. And you can see very, very clearly here the first signs of that. All of the Democrats and the politicians are coming out and trying to get ahead of the inflation. So the inflation is now picking up and becoming a significant issue. And again, my play, I'm already in it, but my play is I'm going to hold on to the silver. I'm a hold on to the silver. I think cryptocurrencies would probably be a pretty good play here as well. They're doing really well today. They're not to 70,000. I'm sure that Bitcoin will get there though. What do you think? Shall we do a poll on that one? Let's create a poll. Bitcoin 70K before nicey close. Should we say? Now let's just say Bitcoin 70K today. Yes, no, ask your community. Tell me what you think. Will Bitcoin hit 70K today? Like, it's funny because I really don't think that Bitcoin should follow any fundamentals, but clearly people think that it's a hedge against inflation, right? And they're trading it as such right now, for sure. It's just there's some big risks in cryptocurrency ahead of us. Silver, I think that if this really blows up, that I could probably hold silver for several months. But if I was buying Bitcoin today, I would only be thinking about being in it for a week or two, because I'm really worried about that Mt. Gox restitution plan thing. It might not be as big of a number as I anticipate, right? So we shouldn't say it like when nothing happens at the end of the month, it was like, oh, we were wrong. No, it was just, there's a risk and we needed to be aware of it. And maybe that should be my TikTok video today, because I've talked about a lot on TikTok, and I want to make sure that everybody is in the right wheelhouse. You need to have strong guts to buy Bitcoin at that price. You know what though, Quasars? Well, how long have you been watching this stream? Because you've been pretty active today, but I don't recall. Well, and I think I've seen your name before, but it's just not a common one. But I am of the opinion that the price that it's at right now doesn't matter. What matters is what the future orders will be, right? So if there is a flood of new orders coming into that market, then it's not about guts at all. It's just an easy trade, right? Yeah, I'm on TikTok. I try and post every day, but I don't get one quite every day. I've been starting to do pretty good. I'm getting to where most videos will get 1,000 views. So it's kind of petering out a little bit. I think you need to have another video that attracts people's interest. But I had this one where I talked about price impact in Bitcoin and what could the potential impact of Mt. Gox selling be. And that definitely caught people's attention. Oh, you're usually watching. Oh, that's right. Yes, you've been here for a long time then. That's right. Well, Treasury is backing off there a little bit. They've definitely gone into that mode where it's like they could trend all day, right? Now the 2 and 10s just steepened a lot. Like the 2 and 10s are now steeper than they were before the nose, but the 5 and 30s and the 10 and 30s are not. Whoa! Ooh, did you see that? In ES? Oh, wow. I have never seen that before. That was nuts. Whoa. It was just like, they're sitting there at 46.71, right? And then all of these prices went, showed that they had been traded. So there was a spike that literally went up 3 points and then 4 points and right back down instantly. And all of the volume showed up on all of those. That's nuts. And there were some big icebergs up there too. What the heck? Oh, I want to talk to the Jigsaw about that. Was there some stops on that? Let's come and look. Ooh, that was interesting. I really wish Jigsaw had a watch list. Yes! Yes! My gosh, Quasars. That is like my number one. Peter, we need a watch list. I don't really know whether you're thinking not getting one. It's the hardest thing. Yeah, I know. It's like such a simple. Not, like the thing that's. I think it's on their list. Just to be clear. I've told him before. When it comes, who knows? But you're right. It's like a relatively easy and simple feature, and not only that, but I think that there's a lot of Jigsaw-ish things that they could do with it. Right? You've been asking Peter for about 2 years. Yeah. Well. I think there's been a couple of things, they've had a hard time putting their team together. And I think that it was harder to get development going over in Malaysia than he expected. I'm just guessing. I don't know. He hasn't said anything, but that just kind of seems like when they started trying to onboard people, and then they did the charts, and the charts just took way longer than they expected. And they started sizing the team up faster. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, anyways, focus, Seth, focus. We want a one-tick chart in the S&P 500 one day. I don't need tick replay, but I do need line on close. Okay. And I cannot see the line. There we go. Okay. When precisely did it happen? 55:25. Okay, sorry, close. Hmm. $7:55:20. Oh, that's it right there. Okay. Oh, there was a little slippage. That's funny. Okay. So somebody swept from the top. And then when it came back, there was a little bit of slippage. You see right there. There was somebody that tried following into that and caught slippage. You're long again. I should have been going long in the ES, right? But I gave up on it. Look at that. You can make money. Well, I am making money, so that's the thing. I think part of why I just stopped paying attention to it was because I started seeing the steepening in the treasury, and I was like, oh, let's focus on that. Let's complain about how I didn't hold on to it and probably could have made a good $10 more. I just should have a nice life. Don't worry. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Oh man, you know, like something that I'm struggling with right now. This is like the dumbest first world problem ever, right? You know, I have ADHD, right? So a lot of things in my life have been like, oh, you think about doing this and you think about doing this and then you never do it. And then you forget about it or it's not relevant anymore. And maybe it was better to have not done it anyways, right? Well, these days I'm on Strateria and so I'm way more focused. So I'll sit down, like with the Metroid. Yeah, I would sit down, do an hour or two every day, and in 2 weeks, past Metroid. Reading Dune right now. Those pages are you look at the Dune book and you're like, that's a thick book, but then you're like 20 pages into it and you're like, oh, it's not that big. The paper is just really thick. Anyways, so I'm completing things. And then I don't know what to do. And it's the same thing. Like I would always like want to buy things. Like, oh, I have this list of things to buy. And like I have to pace myself because I could go and buy everything on that list right now. But then, like, there wouldn't be anything left to buy. And then it wouldn't be any fun. Instead, I have to be, like, spend all month researching and deciding which thing it is that I want. And then you get it. Okay, I've already done it. I got a screen. The screen was an unplanned purchase. The extra monitor, because I was just having a hard time recording. And the tripod. Tripod helped a lot. Next thing. What was at the top of my list? I'm thinking maybe the next thing will be curtains or some sort of, some way to deal with that door. What does it mean? Anyways, so it's kind of the thing. So my wife, she wants to buy fort things. Like she bought this kind of fort couch sort of a thing. I think most people buy them for sex, but it's so you can build a fort. And then she's like, we need 2 of those. And then she bought this other one that has magnets in it that was a Patreon, or there was a GoFundMe that apparently has kind of blown up into some drama and stuff. But then there's this lady, she got it. I guess she didn't want it. So she's like, I want to buy this lady's. And I'm like, why? We don't need more. Oh, but the builds that you can do if you have 2 of them are so much cooler. And I'm like, no, they're not. Let's just stop. So that's kind of a problem right now. No, it's not. It's basically. It's basically. No, it's like a foam block. Well, it's not a block. It's, it's like a big foam cushion, right? And there's like triangle cushions, and some people do that with them. But she refuses to use it for that, unfortunately. I shouldn't talk about those sorts of things. This is a family stream. It's not. It's for adults. If you're a kid, you probably shouldn't be watching. She won't let us use it for that. But apparently apparently it's a thing. Like there are like Facebook groups about it, and like the whole thing is that it's for the kids, but you're supposed to have sex on it the first day. But she didn't want to do that. She thought that was too weird. She is giggling now. That's funny. Man. Okay, so it's really interesting how the tables have turned in the treasuries here, isn't it? Because for a long time, I was like getting really frustrated and, when is this going to go? And the 30 years is going to have to give it up. And that went on for a really, really, really long time, right? Now, they just can't even barely get a tick off of the lows. I'll come get the kids. No, that won't be necessary. That won't be necessary. But you know what, Ace? I could really use your help. If you are willing to come all the way up to Centerville on a Saturday, I would appreciate it. But I'm guessing probably most Saturdays have other things to do. But man, so I think what I'm going to do this week, because I really want to make sure that these next 3 videos get out. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Thursday or Friday off. Kind of depends on how far I get today on my work. I've been dealing with an issue, and I want to get it done. But I'm going to take a day off to make sure I have the script all written, and then take a day off while my wife is still home to record. But when that doesn't work out, I have to do it on Saturday, and then I'll have my parents watch him. But if you wanted to come and watch him in the basement, that would help so much. You got to check to see if the marshals are okay with you traveling. I'm not self-employed. No, I have a day job. We work for a insurance exchange, basically. Yeah. Oh, why you retract the message? I really hate it when you guys delete messages. It's fine. It says that sounds awful. What, the working a day job? I'm kind of enjoying the day job right now. So, oh my gosh. So Lucas says, I'm losing my head trying to explain to my crypto trader friends why Bitcoin jumped at 9:30. Well, they argue they don't look at fundamentals and only trade technicals, right? Oh, no, being stuck in your basement with your kids. Yeah, I understand. Here's another way we could do it. You could come, I'll give you the script, and you do the video. We can do a video. So I have one video about who should trade. So you can come, you can edit the script a little bit, maybe if there's things that you disagree with and so forth. But I think that generally you would be on the same page with it. And then you can record that video. What is the size of your screen? Mine is 27 inch, and I feel it is too small to put the DOMs I need. Thinking about a 32, but that could be a distraction. No, so I have a 27 inch. I have 3 27 inch monitors, and all of my DOMs are on this one center screen. I actually think that I could fit way more DOMs on here than I have, because I make the font really, really big for you guys, you know? I can, like, these ones over here in the micros, I can read that just fine. But that's really hard to read on stream, right? So I made the other ones bigger. But if these were all that same font size, I could probably fit twice as many DOMs on here, right? Probably would add gold and, you know, oil and... Now, that said, a 32-inch monitor isn't too bad. You know, if I was looking at new monitors, I would be looking at those ultra wides. Have you seen those? Like the what is it called? The Samsung not Galaxy. I know. Samsung has a relatively new monitor that's basically the size of three 27-inch monitors. That thing looks awesome. If I was going to spend some money on displays, I think that's where I would go. Oh, yeah. Some on top of others. Yeah. Because there's, you don't need them to do the whole screen. There's a lot of wasted space for most of them. Well, not on NQ. If I was doing it, if I could like set it up any way that I wanted, I would probably show the full NQ and YN DOMs and have those go top to bottom of the screen. And then the rest of them I would do like this. That's what I saw, but... Oh, I get you. Well, a 32-inch monitor wouldn't be bad. But it kind of depends on what you want to do with it, right? Like, do you only have one monitor? There was a great deal on a 256X 1080. Yeah. Like the issue is if you wanted like three 32-inch monitors would be a little silly, right? So what is a radio face, by the way? I don't know if is that really a thing? Oh my gosh. Okay, so yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, it was Monday. It was Monday at lunch. I was watching videos trying to learn more about DaVinci Resolve coloring, because I keep running into this thing where sometimes I want to color it and it affect everything. And I wish that I could say everything on this track, color it this way, but they don't. It doesn't work that way. But I found out that you can do like literal Photoshop type of stuff with the coloring tools in DaVinci Resolve. And so one of the things that I did was that I saw in a tutorial was you draw a mask around your eyes and then you feather it a lot and you brighten your eyes up. And so I did it on one of my videos and oh my gosh, it was such a dramatic change in difference and it looked a lot better. I was like, whoa, what? My eyes are that, what? It was wild. It was really wild. And there also was a way to make the pupils on my eyes stand out a little bit, which, because I when I'm looking in this camera, it's not too bad. I feel like that the eyes could stand out more. There's too much choice. Yeah, yeah, a good trader can make money on a tiny screen. If you're losing money, it's not the number of screens you have. Yeah. But I understand that the situation that he's in, because if you're sitting there and you're thinking every day while you're trading, man, I wish I had more screens. Man, I wish I had more screens. Just the getting it off of your mind while you're trading, it's worth it, right? Because I had that problem. When I first started, it was like 2 screens. And then we started doing the stream, and I was like, I really need another screen to deal with the stream stuff. And yeah, when I did that, and I finally got 3 screens that were all matched and everything, I was way happier. So I think that it kind of is more on that, is just having your setup the way that you want it. There's a benefit just to be had in that it's what you want. You know what I mean? But yeah, this whole thing about like, I see these guys on TikTok, they have like 6 monitors. It's marketing, guys. It's just marketing. You don't really need 6. Or there's that other guy. There's that guy that has like 20 screens and each screen has a full screen chart. It's just a different chart. Nah. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I have one screen for the internet, one screen with a squawk, and then you have no room for a watch list next to my DOMs. I had a hard time finding a room for the watch list, but I wouldn't use a whole screen just for squawks and one just for the internet. No, I split that up, right? Like my communications channel over here, right? Oh, that's not it. Guess there's no way for me to see it, for me to show you. But I have OBS on one half, and then I have web browser and Discord on the other side. Yeah. Like I said, I made a TikTok about this. That was another TikTok that did really well. When I worked for Goldman Sachs, they had 6 screens, and the only reason they had 6 screens was because they needed to like talk to their team members and their clients and manage an algorithm over here. And, like, they were managing 2 machines and stuff. Like, yeah, they used it, but like if you're just retail day trader and you're just watching the DOM, you don't need 6. Is there any reason why the market is going up? I am not sure, to be honest with you. It seems like that CPI news is really bad for them, right? By the way, how are we doing on our poll? 67% of you think yes. Well, we'll see. It'd be close. Because orders are moving the price. There you go. Actually, so I can think of some reasons. Okay, number one, Tesla got hammered yesterday and is recovering, so that's one factor. But factor 2 is that we are in like a seasonal buy period for stock buybacks and other things. And in equities overall, I would expect there to be really strong inflows. So we're kind of in a situation where we might get some really negative economic news here, and it will seem like the market still floats up. Just because there's so much money that wants to be put to work this month now, and it would require a really big change for that dynamic to flip, right? Maybe we should have a checklist of possible reasons that are generalized. Yeah, well, you know, that one, the price, the inelastic markets hypothesis or whatever it is, that paper has a couple of them that we've talked about before, right? Stock buybacks is a big one. Gamma is a big one. Competing assets is a big one. Right? Like gold would probably be well on its way to 2,000 several months ago if Bitcoin wasn't around, right? Sometimes you can see like a competing asset is doing poorly or something happened to it, and you can see a flow going into the other one. But there's like, I think that like the sky's the limit, like in terms of the number of things that you could potentially pull edge out of to anticipate future orders. So I wish we could make a general list. Well, we could make a list of specific things that I really try and pay attention to. And I'll tell you what they are. One thing that I really try and pay attention to is seasonality and weekly and daily trends. Okay. So for instance, there tends to be a lot of volume on the open. They tend to, every 45 minutes, there's kind of like this, point at which there might be another meta order start coming in, right? So those are all things that you can kind of use to anticipate future orders. From the weekly basis, there tends to be less activity on Mondays, tends to be more activity on Wednesdays. On a seasonal basis, it's going to depend strongly on your instrument. But here in the S&P 500, the holiday season tends to be really good for stocks and is often some of the strongest time periods for stocks, whereas the summer is kind of the doldrums. In treasuries, you get a little bit of activity around October to November, but the strongest period is January to March. And then from March to May, there's kind of a little bit of a reversal, and then the summer also sucks, right? So those are all things that we look at. I try and keep an eye on gamma levels in the S&P 500, but I mostly read news for that. Stock buybacks is a big one for the S&P 500, a big one. And I'm always watching, if you see a story on Zero Hedge that basically talks about like Goldman Sachs expected flows, you want to read that. You want to read that, and that's basically your guide for the month. Right? And then current news, obviously. Current news and changing expectations of news is huge too. So that's kind of the rundown that I almost at this point automatically do them, Wheat will always outperform Bitcoin because people get hungry. What was funny is the other day I was reading in a TikTok thread and they were complaining about inflation and stuff. And they were like, the dollar is stable. No, it's not compared to gold. And I'm like, okay, wait, how do you come in and if you wanted to compare how stable the dollar is as a currency versus how stable gold would be as a currency, how would you do that? Because what is an asset out there that is really, truly stable and that you can compare everything else to but that one thing is consistent? It doesn't exist. It really doesn't exist, right? And people will come and look at the dollar and they'll say, well, you lost X% of your purchasing power over the last 30 years. But it's like, yeah, but relatively speaking, the amount of economic volatility that it creates is the most stable thing we have. Like, these guys have no clue. When the United States was on the gold standard, like before the Federal Reserve was created, I mean, it really changed again in the 70s. The system that we had that was kind of half and half with the Federal Reserve, but still being on a gold standard from, like the 30s to the 70s. That's an interesting system. I don't think that it's scalable, that you could do it with the size that the economy is today, but it's an interesting thing to think about. But the period before the Federal Reserve, so from like 1910 and going all the way back to when the Bank of the U.S. was abolished in like 1830, okay? So like that 70, 80-year period of U.S. history, go back and look. It was the most tumultuous economic time in our history. It was literally like every 5 years, there was a massive economic crisis the size of the 2008 crisis. And all these people saying, well, it'd be so much more better if we were on the go. They don't know what they're talking about. Doesn't mean that our current system is perfect, though. Pay me in sacks of potatoes. We need what we need is an economy based on melange. There we go. So I've been reading Dune. I haven't gotten to this point in the book, but I've been reading stuff on wikis and stuff. Apparently, the navigators, pilot the spaceships and do interstellar travel. The reason why the Navigator Guild are the only ones that can do interstellar travel is because aberrations can show up in hyperspace or whatever that will just kill you. In fact, even with the Navigators, it's like 1 in 10 ships just don't make it. Okay. It's hyper risky. And what the Navigator does is they have precognition. So they can see what's going to happen and know how to navigate around it. And the way that they gain this ability is by consuming large amounts of melange. But for them, it's not just like they consume melange, like they just take a hit and like that's what all the humans that have blue eyes are doing. No, these guys, they are like pumped up with just massive amounts of this drug. So much so that they put them in like a water tank and their body mutates. Their body mutates. So when I think about in the math, being in the bath, it's like I'm in my bath soak, and now I'm going to get all of my precognitions of the future. I was having precognitions of the future about garlic coin today. I was just sitting in the shower. I was like, why am I thinking about garlic coin mooning right now? Well, okay. Maybe it's going to moon. Actually, we should go and look at it because it was doing pretty good. It was doing pretty good. By the way, the 10-year and the 5-year down at the lows there again, but the spread's still trying to stay flat. We just need to be long. We should have been long the 5-year. Could we? I don't know what price we would have gotten and everything, but I think next time we got to be looking at doing it in the 5-year. Instead of doing like the new mayor of New York City, one could ask for a wage made of rice, potatoes, and pasta bags. Divergence is real. Ooh, okay. Garlic coin is at 77 cents. I mean, I don't like to pay too much attention to chart patterns, but do you see this? Actually, let's go back even further. Like, can I go to a month? Yeah. Do you see this? It's like, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, that looks like subtle accumulation, doesn't it? Like somebody is buying up blocks of it, and then they wait a few days and they buy up a few more blocks, wait a few more days, and they've just been slowly pushing the price up. So now they're to 70 cents. What point though do people start to get like, okay, so maybe 75 cents? Yeah. It says, aren't we at 70 cents right now? I'm confused now. 07. Oh. 07. Yeah, that is weird. Oh, okay. There we go. Just what the chart wasn't over all the way. Okay. So if they get probably above 12 cents, then people might start going crazy. That seems to be the spot that I think that it will pick up more interest. Joseph Smith was a seer, yeah, but he wasn't doing it with melange. He had a device. Yeah. Fortunately, I do not have access to the spice. I was reading in the wiki. Oh man, Dune gets weird. Okay, it gets weird because after the kid dies, the next emperor really is like the god emperor that they've been looking for. Okay, so you're getting oil numbers, by the way. And the God Emperor merges his DNA with worm DNA and like monopolizes all of the melange in the galaxy, because apparently melange is the problem. They've devised ways to travel across space without it now, and just the people knowing what the other people are doing is like such an advantage and stuff that it causes conflict. And so they worked towards trying to create a lineage where they were immune to it, where it was like people couldn't see what they were going to do. They couldn't precognition their actions. But yeah, he became a worm. He becomes a worm and monopolizes all of the melange in the galaxy. It gets freaking weird. Do you think that they're going to make a movie about the God Emperor? Probably not, right? Probably not. Tesla's at 4% today. I think there's going to be a lot of. So I see some Yalol in Discord saying insanity is now being normalized. He has a video. I don't know what that is about, but that's something totally different. I think that there are going to be a lot of people saying though that like now the trajectory of the economy is like what things should be. Altered States with William Hurt. Huh. So I am seeing some big blocks trading down here at the bottom in the 10-year. It does look like they have at least temporarily reached kind of potentially, well, I don't know, but we do kind of have this level right here at 04. But you can see that it's just kind of getting harder for him. Let's see what they do. Would love to see them take 04 half and then. Anyways, so what I'm really saying though is that if my head starts to get really big and like my nose and face flattens out and everything, like don't panic, okay? It's it's just the melange. I'm thinking about the timing of everything, and I don't know. This feels like one of those situations where, like, if I decide to take some profits here, they're gonna bust that 04 and just crack it wide open. But if I don't, they're not gonna make it through it. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. That 04, when it started stacking at 04 half, a little bit of 04 pulled. Like, I think that they could do it. I think there's probably enough out there to just dice through them, especially with the 30-year now down back at 163 even. Now, below 163, now the ZB is below its low of the day. He who controls the spice controls the universe. Look at that. I think we might get some fireworks here. Come on. Do it. Do it. Do it. Yeah. About 1,000 pulled. So it was 6, right? Some of it is traded too, though. But it's 4x3. Yeah. Now, because we're getting some steepening. There you go. Yeah. Right through it like butter. Wait, what? Canadian woman becomes the world's first patient to be diagnosed with climate change? Okay. I don't want to know what climate change for she's experiencing. That's a little. Get gone. Now, so Uzi, you still there? You've been quiet after you were talking with one for such a long time. So I'm wondering if you took a trade in the ZB. Like, I could see you have going long, but then when we flipped back, I would think that you would be taking it short. Here's the thing, like, we're below yesterday's value areas, right? Next value area down there is 162.16. So are we going to have another 16 tick down move in ZB? I don't know. It's a little crazy to think about, isn't it? A little crazy. And I'm still sitting here thinking like, Saf, you should have been two. You should have had two on. It's okay. The market has given us a gift today. I should not complain. Now another 5K is stacking at 02, and there's, 131 below us. You always expect there to be some there. And 121.22 in the 5-year. Oh geez, look at this go, man. This is kind of turning into a bender now, man. Like, when we talk about meta or here, like, hold on. This is talking about the square root law of impact. As with all empirical laws, the square root impact law only holds within a certain domain of parameters. In this section, we discuss this domain and highlight some of the limitations that one should expect on more general grounds. First, as we noted in section 12.3.2, the square root law should only hold when the execution horizon t is shorter than a certain memory time t of m, which is related to the time after which the underlying latent liquidity of the market has evolved significantly. The memory time m is difficult to estimate empirically, but one may expect that it is the order of days. I think here there's different levels, and on our kind of a time frame, it's 45 minutes, right? Therefore, the impact of meta order of size q that is executed over a horizon of several weeks or months should become approximately equal to q if the permanent component of the impact is not zero. Second, the ratio q v of t should be small, such that the meta order constitutes only a small fraction of the total volume and such that the impact is small compared to the volatility. In the case where q over v of t is substantial, one enters a different regime because the meta order causes a large perturbation to the ordinary course of the market. In this large Q over V regime, a meta order with sufficiently long execution horizon T for the underlying latent liquidity to reveal itself is expected to have a completely different impact than a meta order that is executed extremely quickly, with the risk of destabilizing the market and possibly inducing a crash. So what's happening right now? We got to the point where you would start to see that square root impact and it was evening off, and then they became unhinged. And once they become unhinged, all bets are off and you might have a trend day, right? I think that's what's happening right now. Okay, so with that said, this is like almost getting straight up parabolic in the 10-year. Gee, that is a strong move, but is that weakening question? We'll see. Yeah, like the thing is once it becomes unhinged, I really have no way. I have had a very difficult time finding a way to predict where it's going to stop. Some days it will literally just trend all day, and today could very well be one of these days. This is a very significant news event that I think marks the beginning of a new regime within the markets that, you know, a lot of things are going to change. And when that happens, that's the sort of thing that can create a trend day, but it doesn't guarantee it, right? And there's a good chance that we get sucked back up and or reverse or whatever, you know? It just kind of, I don't know, it seems to me like it's a little random. 5-year yield rises 10 basis points. Really? So if we had traded it in the 5-year, so let me see here. 09.5 was okay. No. Okay, the most we probably could have gotten out of it was 5 basis points, which is about what we got in the 10-year. Close to what we got in the 10-year. The only thing I have in mind regarding this is that the ZF is on an old important inflection point at 23 3/4, but that is just a clue. I am not trading on levels. Yeah, well, that's why I go back to, okay, the ZB puked hard. It puked hard. Next kind of like value area that I, technical level that I can foresee them going for in ZB is 162.16. And in my own testing, I haven't found, super reliable edge in the 30-year from taking trades based off of those kinds of levels. But I have found in my testing that the 30-year seems to react to technical levels more strongly than the other instruments do. And that there are certainly aberrations, particularly in regards to what do we call it, single print areas. there tend to be really strong reactions to single print areas. Not sure if we have those in ZB until maybe, well, around the same place, 162.16. So it's just kind of like everything is just kind of like lined up for them to keep going, but I really can't say. Is kind of a situation where it's like, you've got a lot banked in, or I got a lot banked in, and now it's just kind of like we can just let what happens happens. I mean, there's no way that I would have predicted on last Friday that the yields would have declined as much as they did, right? That move was really, really crazy. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking that given this CPI print, we are totally justified in interest rates being higher than they were on Friday. And we still have a long way to go until we're to Friday's levels. So whoa, what? The defense called Rittenhouse to the stand, but the judge said they needed to take a 5-minute break. For real? This Rittenhouse trial, man, the court TV people must be making so much money off of that. Like, this is just like, you wouldn't think that it would have many twists and turns or anything. I mean, I guess the trial is going to turn out the way that we expect, most likely. I'm really surprised that they're calling him to the stand. He must want to be on the stand. He must really want to get on the stand. Because otherwise, like, the prosecution's case they've blown it. Why would you take that risk of putting yourself on the stand? Unless he really wanted to, That guy looks like he's going for an acquittal. The judge saying they needed to take a 5-minute break, that's interesting. Well, they're still going. Like, you can see, it's just not... It's... You kind of have to sit back and think, back when we were at, like, what, 13? How did it stay there for so long? How did the 30... I guess because of the spreads? I don't know, man. But then once it broke, it broke. We broke it. We broke the treasuries, guys. For now, S&P 500, they're fine with it. But you know what? If when we get up to 1.6 in the 10-year and before, and beyond, rather, are you sure what your thing is? Oh, I'm totally swinging this now. 100%. In fact, well, I don't know if I hold it into tomorrow's session or not, but I could, right? I think that with the micro treasuries here, that's one of the advantages, and we should. Oh no, I am saying you are good at it. Yeah, when I do get the runner, I don't know though, Lucas. You were here on Friday, yeah. Ugh. I mean, I've pretty much already dug myself out of the hole if I were to take my profits here. But I so regret what I did on Friday, man. That was so bad. The market ear tweets, will greed prove transitory? Okay, so you're getting a little bit of action there. When the 30-year ticked up, so they might be okay for now. I know the issue with this swing trade though is like it seems to me that the situations where you can really truly swing it in the treasury are few and far between. Because there is a very strong tendency for the treasury to mean revert. Did you notice that Jigsaw does show the spreads in the depth? This is a big issue for some instruments such as UB. The real depth is way smaller. Well, it shows you everybody that's in the queue. But you're right that there are some people that might be in the queue that when the spread moves aren't in the queue anymore and it just disappears. Oh, that's a good point, Octavius. I didn't think about that. Do we really want to go overnight with tomorrow being a holiday? Maybe. Well, so question is there anything on Friday? I think that they just moved everything up, right? Okay, so they still have consumer sentiment on Friday. Well, I think it's easier for market makers and arbitrageurs to keep the U.S. Treasury in check than it is for, say, and oh yeah, for sure. I know. I'm gonna have to play it by ear. I might see some things that will tell me to just take my profits here in this location around 45, but in this kind of a situation, I would prefer to try and hold it until the treasury market closes, if not the equity market close. Because we have a pretty good chance of it just being a trend day. Especially with the whole thing from last Friday, right? So. Now, by the way, when was the is it 9:30? I guess it already happened. Thing is, even though tomorrow is a holiday, I think we'll still be able to have it open, right? I don't think that the bits will change, but I think that the extended trading hours are still going to be going, so. It does look like the buy side liquidity here in this area is decent for now. I'm kind of feeling a little bit of the come down now, right? Like, I think that having the good strong winter has me in a good mood, and now I'm kind of like coming back to earth. With that thinking, Val, like I do have to think about when I'm going to take it off, because it might not make sense to try and hold it through Friday and then over the weekend. Like that's some big risk for over the weekend. Now gold looks like it's kind of topped off a little bit. I don't know. That is not the way that I would expect gold to do it. I would expect gold to do something like this. And let me draw that steeper, like this. And it's doing so far. Bitfinex on Twitter is tweeting a picture of these crocheted whales. What the heck? What I really need to be thinking about right now, though, is what I should do for TikTok. I make a big TikTok about how there's so much inflation. But we're still overall, we've flattened overall. So it still brings me back to why are we flattening? Are we flattening because the market still believes that this is transitory? Or are we flattening because the market believes we're going to have a recession? Or are we flattening for the hell of it? That's an option too. That should always be an option on the list. That should always be a theory on the list, as it's just traders going to trade. Who knows? Another thing we should consider is, I'll have not just me, but the market will have a tendency to overreact. Like, I think on that move on Friday, like, that was a very clear overreaction, right? Because how far they go isn't necessarily based on the fundamentals, it's based on how many orders they get from it. Which apparently isn't accurately correlated with what the actual fundamentals of it are. The street tweeting about how Coinbase is still down. Tim Dewey tweets, "One thing's for sure, the next set of Fed confirmation hearings are going to be lit." News Squawk replies, Eddie Hearn will be selling pay-per-view tickets for them at this rate. Yeah, it really will be. All of the politicians are going to be triggered about inflation for sure. Well, they're slowly creeping down a little bit further, and that one old familiar 131 even in the treasury is just below us. Yes. How many days? How many times were we at that level? Back in October, we hung out there a lot, huh? Yeah, that was the place. October 28th. That was the place to be. That's where all the cool kids hung out. 131 even. I'd expect the questions for Powell from officials to become harder as they... Yeah, I think so too. It's an interesting... This goes back to that question that I asked earlier, which was, even though the inflation is transitory, perhaps you still need to raise rates to slow the economy and give those bottlenecks the chance to ease up, maybe, because there's this whole thing of like, oh, well, okay, they raise interest rates. How does that help? Because that doesn't release the supply bottlenecks. It's true. But at the same time, you can't just let this inflation go zany crazy, right? You have to raise rates. Now, the good news, I still think, by the way, because here's the thing. The Federal Reserve was right to err on protecting against deflation, because if it really does become like an inflation and the Federal Reserve has to act, really has to act because it's getting out of control, they can do that very easily. And their tools control inflation really well. Right? Like they know how to deal with that problem. They'll raise rates. It'll be crazy turmoil for the markets, but they know what to do. So we'll see. We'll just see if they actually do it. Maybe they do just want to keep rates low forever for the politicians, for the managing the debt. Could be. Yeah, 2 minutes. It's time for me to go. Well, let's change our title to say Inflation Scorching Hot. I don't know how to spell scorch. Scorching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay profitable.